Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Baha'i Conversation. Our topic today is building bridges between faiths. We will be exploring the commonalities that we share, the values among religions. I'm your host, Barbara Golar. And today we have this incredible conversation and also this incredible panel that we have. And so it's not too often that we're able to come together with our different faith traditions. But today we're really going to focus on the more of the things that we have the same than we have differences. So we're going to explore the common thread of love, justice, service, and spirituality that connects us. So at this time, I am really feeling honored, again, like I said, to have this wonderful panel that I have in beside me. And so I'd like for them to introduce themselves. So I'll start over here to my left.
Yes. I'm the Reverend Neil Tadkin. I'm the rector at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Monrovia. And I've been there for about 12 years.
It's been that long.
12 years. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nina Edwards. I live in Pasadena, and I'm a member of the Baha'i Faith in Pasadena, but also a world member of the Baha'i Faith.
I'm Jason Moss. I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. We represent the Jewish community in advocacy work and bringing the community together, an area from Glendale to Rancho Cucamonga.
Thank you.
I am Iqbal Qazi. I don't have a title, but I do sermons all over San Gabriel Valley in different masjids, different mosques on Fridays, and mostly my focus of my sermons is love and equality and justice.
And what faith tradition are you representing?
I am a Muslim by faith.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you. And excuse me. And today, like I said, we will be speaking about what actually the things that bring us together. And so we're actually going to start off with what we have in common. And so in every religion, there is an emphasis on love, kindness, and a shared teaching. So what I'd like for you all to do is share, give us a little highlight or something about what your faith tradition speaks about love and compassion. Anyone?
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my religion, the name of the religion of Islam, which literally means peace. When you say, and the traditional universal greetings is Salamu Alaikum, that peace be on you, Shalom Alaikum is come, sister languages, Hebrew and Arabic, So it's a lot of commonalities. And basically what Islam represents is justice, equality, and fairness. This is the basic theme of the Holy Quran. This is the basic theme of Islam. And what I call the universal bulletin of the Holy Quran that God says to humanity is not addressing to Christians or Muslims or Jews. It says, "O humanity, we created you from one man and one woman. You are all equal. We made you into different nations and different tribes. The only reason so that you can recognize each other. Otherwise, the most favorable person, the most successful person in the eyes of God is the one who has good deeds, who love humanity."
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I was going to say ditto, but I think that the commonality within that idea, Judaism teaches the idea, and you touched on it, the idea of B'Tselem Elohim, that we are all created in God's image. And I think it's a critical aspect of how we treat other people with the understanding that by treating people with respect and kindness and love, we are actually treating God in that way. One of the central prayers of Judaism is the Via Hafta, and it basically describes how we are to love. Via Hafta Adonai Eloheinu. Sorry, I said it wrong. The translation is, you shall love your Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your actions. And to take the words that God teaches upon your heart. The idea being is that it's not just in the words, but it's also in your actions, in your deeds, in how you live your life.
What is your faith tradition's teaching on love and compassion?
Oh, love and compassion. To love the whole to love the whole world. I mean, that's what we're all taught, because we all believe that there's one God, and we all come from that same source. And those teachings from all the way down, all of the prophets have taught to love. Those are the basic principles of every prophet that has come. And so our world faith, we look at the world as one big family in the Baha'i faith, and we love everybody as one. I think it's just another step forward in the vision versus the community. We also break it down backwards into the community. So we see the world, but then we handle each neighborhood with great care and effort with all of the programs that we have started. So, but as far as a basic, we love the world, that all religions are one.
Thank you. Yeah.
The notion in our Episcopal Church Christian tradition, we first talk about how, love and compassion are rooted in the creation in itself. We're told that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth and created all things out of love, out of a desire for connection and companionship. And that God created all this and said, it is very good. But love, we often forget, isn't just a feeling. Love is an action, right? So if we're created in God's image and we are created to be good, then our actions and deeds are supposed to always be rooted in that. To love our neighbor, to love God with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul, and love our neighbors as ourselves. Because if we are all truly created in the image of God, it is to love our neighbor is to love God, because it is all intimately connected. And then compassion is one of the outgrowths of that. If you love someone and they are suffering, then you have to you are called to suffer with them in some way, to recognize and feel their suffering and respond accordingly.
And by that you mean kind of caring for and being with them in the moment?
Caring for, being with them in the moment, also caring for, not just in the moment, but responding to their long-term needs. This is where it comes into the whole notion of justice, that there is, we are all called to live lives of justice, which is also the inevitable outgrowth of authentic love.
And it's very interesting because that leads right into the next question.
Oh, good.
And
you didn't even pay me.
Which is, excuse me, the many religious traditions really also emphasize service to others. How does your faith encourage acts of justice and service in the community?
In Judaism, the word tzedakah often gets referred to as
in Arabic.
Says the same. Its meaning is perceived as charity, but actually, if you look at the root, it is actually justice. And the idea behind it is that we should pursue justice in everything we do. in how we care for others, and how we support others, how we support the community as a whole. And I think that that idea of the phrase is tzedek tzedek tirdof, justice shall you pursue. And the idea behind that, I think, goes back to the compassion. I think it goes back to the love. I think it goes back to the respect and the recognition that part of the idea of creation, that you brought up, is that partnership that exists between God and man. And that in many ways, God created the world to be a partner with us, and that we have an obligation to do that. And through that work that we do and the understanding that we have an opportunity to help those in need and help those that are less fortunate. Even the poorest person is supposed to do good. They're not only supposed to be on the receiving end of charity. And the idea behind that is because there's value in that action. And there's a connection and an opportunity to perform the mitzvah, the good deed, the requirement, as a way of saying you have an obligation even if you yourself are on the receiving end.
Okay, he mentioned the word sadaqah. That is the main ingredient in Islam. God says, I love those people who give charity to whoever needs. The word sadaqah has been used about 250 times in the Holy Quran. And God says that the best people are those who spend money on others and who forgive everybody unconditionally. If somebody does anything wrong, you forgive everybody. That is unconditionally. And the sadaqah is a part of Ramadan. We are supposed to give, there is a measure, it costs about $50 per family member to hand to somebody that you know who needs the money. Otherwise, your fasting is not acceptable. That is one of the main conditions, And so sadaqah. And then actually what I'm saying, the Judaism and Islam is the same, everything is the same. We follow Judaism, the religion of Abraham, and if you look at the Torah and the Holy Quran, there is always everything coming. Quran always refers to Bible and Torah. It said that these things were given to Jews and to Christians, and you follow these things. And the other thing, the main thing is about Ramadan. The Holy Quran says that you are supposed to be fasting as the Jews and the Christians fasted before you. So that's what I'm saying, is that I don't call myself Muslim, I believe in that. I read Bible, I find commonalities in Torah. And so I don't know why we have differences. I don't understand. I don't understand,
Because human beings are broken.
Yes. And then you also have to think that, it came from different parts of the world and then and spreading. And the other thing is, it's like going to school. You're not going to I'm a former kindergarten teacher. There's no way that I'm going to teach my kindergartners what a freshman in high school. They don't, they're not going to be able to comprehend. So at the different times that the manifestations have come here on earth, they all knew the same. They just was teaching us what we were able to comprehend. Yeah. So anyway.
Nevertheless, so often we're
I know it.
acting like we're still in
that's a
nursery
very
school as
distinct
human
Baha'i
beings.
look out, because we believe with each prophet in each day and age, as we have a conversation, we know that the basic building blocks, we've talked about them here already. Now, for as we get into our communities and the world becomes more globalized, everybody has a different way of using that word. Unfortunately, the United States and our world economic place, we think of it as a monetary aim. But what we know, or what we're also experiencing, is this globalization of the oneness. It's the first time in the world's history that I get to know what's going on in Haifa in the morning, when I want to go and look at my holy land and see what the weather is that morning, or tune in, or if I want to see what's going on in China, or tune into my family in India. This is the first time that we as a mankind are understanding that we are one. We're coming to the understanding. And that all of these building blocks, I mean, you talk about doing a mitzvah or engaging in the community. We all have these works, and the Baha'is are doing something so exciting. Right now we have an institute called the Ruhi Institute, and we're working all over the world in all these different communities. And you may think it sounds like when people go to Africa and they what is it when people go off and teach their faith in different missionaries. It's not the same, because we are teaching basic building blocks, inviting any faith to come in to, so let's just say Pune, India. We'll take that for example. The same program is being offered all over the world, and you can find it in or bring it into any single place. And those basic building blocks is the spirituality and learning how to do service and looking at the world at one. That is like the fastest way. And you have these children engaging, and I'm teaching a children's class now, and I'm doing something backwards, but I'm teaching a children's class, and we have a little Christian person in there, and we have a little Muslim person in there, and then we have, our Baha'is, and we're all learning about the oneness of mankind, how we can be inclusive versus our differences. And so we have grades 1, they start in kindergarten, their equivalent kindergarten, and then they go all the way through college. We even have college programs. And you'll find Baha'is sharing this world encompassing view on economics, on agriculture, in every facet, with the vision of oneness. So there is nothing that is going to break us apart.
Mm-hmm. So the idea of the oneness in many ways is that concept of working together and realizing there's an obligation to not just your neighbor, but really the global community as a whole is what it sounds like you're discussing.
Exactly.
We look at
look at ourselves as a whole community.
Right. The concept of tikkun olam, the idea of repairing the world. That in essence there are areas and pockets that we need to focus energy on. Mm-hmm. With the Jewish teaching of that is that we have a responsibility, and every act we do to make things better for our neighbor or others that are in need is an exact form of that. It's an opportunity for us to put the world back together as whole and ultimately get back to a true sense of shalom or wholeness or completeness.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, because we were talking about the idea of
service and justice.
Right.
Yes.
And coming out of the Jewish traditions, in this notion of being the tikkun olam, in the baptismal covenant that we do as Christians and especially as Episcopalians in the wording, there are these various promises that we make, and the two sort of penultimate promises that are made in that covenant are, they say, will you seek and serve Christ in all people, loving your neighbor as yourself? And then, and will you respect the dignity of every human being? Doesn't say every human being that looks, sounds, or believes like you. Mm-hmm. It says, will you respecting the dignity of every human being? Mm-hmm. And, when you have that kind of an ultimatum, mm-hmm. there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. Now, granted, we human beings are amazing rationalization machines, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. We can rationalize anything. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, it's pretty clear if you look at the covenant where you're pointed.
It's interesting because I think that idea that we have in all of our religions, that golden path, the idea of how we're supposed to live our lives. Mm-hmm. And the challenge becomes the human frailty side of it, is that it's an ideal, it's what we're supposed to be striving towards. Very few of us are able to truly grasp it and really attain it. But I still think it's that idea that there's a path forward for us, that while our differences between, and we haven't gotten to the differences, but yes. I think there's a similarity with this idea that each religion takes a slightly different approach to the same goal. Mm-hmm. And that it's the slight differences in that way that we sometimes get caught up in, instead of looking at the commonality side
Yes.
of what we're really striving
Yes.
to do. The fact that many people may not understand that Islam means peace, and that it's something that's an ingrained aspect of the religion, is critical for people to be aware of, because it begins to break down that differences, that there are major differences, because really there's not much difference. Yes, we may pray to somebody different. There may be a different prophet that we pray to, or that our prayers are giving our the language or anything else. But
Or in
in
a
the
different
end,
style
or in a
of
different
prayer.
style, absolutely.
Yes.
Whether because I know it's
Christians have been butchering each other over the style in
Right.
Islam. Same
Right.
thing. You
But
know, we've
ultimate-
butchered our own people over a style of worship.
But
right?
if you're
Yeah,
gonna
because the Christianity has more than 65 different
So an
different
update.
pe-
Here's an updated version. There's a
different
high
groups that they
updated
believe
version.
in different things, you know. But basically, you know, the main belief is the same, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the I lost my thought. But the updated version of what was it you were just saying?
Well,
around that.
I was talking about how. What was I just
We
talking?
were talking about worshiping and how we do.
Oh yeah, the fact that
We do things in a certain way.
Well, yeah,
but that makes differences amongst us.
we were talking about the frailty of human beings,
Right.
and the fact that it's so easy to get
Right.
off track, even though we're called to this common
Right.
mission of
Right.
how to seek and serve God,
Right.
in all of our relationships across the board, but then we, being the human rationalization machines that we are, we get caught up. I would just say, like the disciples, even like Jesus' own disciples, we get our human frailty says, okay, but do I get to sit at your right hand or your left hand? Because
Right.
you're now my,
Right.
and they lose track of what's going on, and for example, Jesus always has to say, stop this, like. You have no idea what you're talking about.
But some of them are the traditions. They have nothing to do with religion.
Exactly.
Yes.
You
They're
know,
traditions.
I
Right.
lived in Africa for 7 years. I have seen different people doing different things, and different traditions. That's why the black community has its own traditions. Even in United States, I have several friends. Same thing with Judaism, Well, because my wife was adopted by a Jewish family in Beverly Hills. And we still, they come to us and we go to them. Nothing, when they have Hanukkah, they have them, we go and celebrate. When we have Eid, they come and celebrate with us. This is the main focus of worship. And in Islam, when you are sitting together talking about God, that is worship.
Yes.
You don't have to
Yes.
go. This is the I think the best form of worship, that God is watching and He is very happy that we are not fighting. We have different religions and we are talking about commonalities.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
amazing. This is. I don't have to go to the. I can pray at home. I don't have. I'm not. I pray every day, 5 times a day, and that prayer is to establish contact with God. The name of the prayer is Salah. Salah means communication.
Right.
5 times a day I pray. I communicate with God directly. I don't need anybody else.
Right.
This is Islam.
No intercessor.
And then Islam is creating community. 5 pillars of Islam. Number 1, God is one. 5 times a day, prayer. You can pray here. I can pray here. There are certain times of the day that I can pray, that I communicate with God, and I ask for forgiveness, that I am a human being and I will commit errors, because the Satan and my nafs, as this is called, is always pushing me to go into the wrong direction, go after money, go after money, materialism, And the third is 1 month of fasting. Community together again, get together. And fasting, as the Quran says, it is a repair. It is a repair of your body,
Spiritual.
Eat less
gotta-
and talk less, as I said,
You got to reboot your computer every once in a
Yeah.
while, because things get stuck in there.
And the
right?
fourth one is, you give money, 2.5% of your money to the poor. And the fifth one is, again, go to pilgrimage and again with people, So these are building community, That's the whole thing is all about.
It's interesting because I think that what you point out, the fact that each one of us can pray alone.
Right?
And many of us do,
Yeah.
and yet the power of that idea of being part of something greater,
Yeah.
and the understanding that I'm in partnership with others, and that's
Spiritual, right
yes,
here.
with absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that commonality that we haven't even touched on is that true sense of the importance of community. And the importance in many ways that it's the responsibility and the obligation we have to one another to make the community better. One of Jewish teachings from the Talmud is that you're not supposed to separate yourself from the community, meaning Jews are not only supposed to be by themselves. Even during times when Jews have been isolated for a variety of different reasons, there's still an obligation to be part of the greater community, because in essence there is that responsibility, there is the connection, there is the opportunity to learn from one another. But I think it's a powerful thing to kind of be keeping in mind that through this work and the fact that we're building a community here, we're building that idea of it's not just our words, but it's also in how we act, and that it takes beyond just the prayer, even the pillars.
Yes.
The idea is not just the connection with God, but it's okay, how are you going to show that connection?
Absolutely.
How are you going to utilize that understanding that the actions that you do is not just who you are internally, but
Exactly.
also outwardly what you do to other people?
So the bottom line is that we need each other.
Yes.
Yes.
This is it.
Yes,
we
yes.
cannot live by ourselves.
So I'm curious because I know in the Christian tradition we have some various creeds. We have the baptismal covenant. We have this sort of examination of the candidates for baptism, and one of the ones in the examination is people are, making their oath, is they ask, so will you persevere in the teaching of the apostles, in the breaking of bread, and in the prayers? Now, the prayers can be individual and or corporate. The teaching of the apostles means like, okay, so are you constantly fortifying yourself because you're left to our own devices? Not a good sign when we're left to our own devices because there's no accountability. So the community is not only a place of comfort and of power, because community can give you a sense of power, but it's also a place of accountability. And in our prayers, we always run the danger of kind of like getting so much in our own heads that we can kind of, it's easy to lose focus on what it is actually that we're supposed to be praying for. On the other hand, in the public form of prayer, there's always the danger of jockeying for how you look. It's like, okay, I'm going to pray in public in a big, and that way people know how holy I am. I mean, and that's, I'm sure, that's
think so, but I also think
the
that's
challenge in every one of our religions. I'm curious about which.
But I also think it's important to keep in mind that without each one of those tenets, that the religion wouldn't be, like, the individual would not be fulfilling the responsibility and the obligation of those basic things. That you need all three.
Right.
And that sometimes when we put too much attention on one, we are not giving enough attention to the others. And I think that idea you mentioned about community holding each other accountable, that it's the reminder that, wait a minute, if we're part of something and there's something else going on outside of us, I need to kind of do my part. I need to be part of the process. Because if I only focus on one, Rabbi Hillel, the great rabbi, said, if I'm only for myself, who am I? And if I don't do it now, and I'm paraphrasing it, but if I don't do it now, when am I ever going to? And and the idea, if I don't, what's going to hold someone else accountable for them to do it as well? And I think that those types of teachings, which I know are passed down to other traditions and adopted in many ways, is that concept and the reminder that we are one piece of a global community, and without us here, the world be far different than we ever could be, and that in many ways the world would not be the same as it is today.
Okay.
What I want to do, if you're just now tuning in, you are looking at Baha'i Conversation, and we are talking about building bridges between faiths. Thank you. And I'm sitting here in awe because I have my little script here, and what I love about all of y'all is that you have just followed suit in what is listed here.
Amazing.
It is absolutely amazing.
Yes. So one thing, since we are talking about commonalities, one of the basic tenets in Bible, in Torah, in the Holy Quran, love thy neighbor.
Right.
You know, in Quran it was emphasized so much that the Prophet one time mentioned that maybe the next verse will come that the neighbor will become part of your inheritance, you know. It was so close. So now I follow that very closely. I go around and check my neighbors. We are good friends. You know, I've living in that place for 25 years, and we have good friends, you know. One of them is Jewish, by the way.
Glad to hear it.
And he is our best friend, you know.
I'm interested.
And he has keys to our house, because my wife and I, we travel quite a bit, you know, go to Pakistan, go to Dubai. Yeah, I just came back last week after.
I was shocked that when I had texted you, I go, he's in the country. He's here.
Yes. So anyway, so that's what love thy neighbor. That's the basic commonalities in all the religions, you know.
I think it's interesting, and this is where I think having somebody from the Baha'i community be a part of this conversation, I think it's critical, because I don't think many people understand what how universal many of the teachings of the Baha'i faith are. And I'd love to hear how that in essence, it's do unto others as you would have done unto you. How that is played out within the Baha'i tradition. Because again, I think it's a huge commonality and runs through almost all faith traditions.
I think one of the things that resonates in my head is that one of our sayings is strive that your actions every day can be beautiful prayers. And when you look at it that way, when you take yourself, and we also take ourselves into account. We have no clergy, as you may or may not know, and so we take ourselves into account every evening for whatever we may feel. And I think that kind of keeps us in it, but not us. It helps me because I can't speak for anybody else but myself. We always say nobody is a Baha'i. We strive to be a Baha'i every day, you know. And so I just think that as we follow those our principles, that's how we kind of end up being a part of the community, because you're keeping yourself aligned daily with everything. I mean, we also have we have a very long obligatory prayer, which I have 2 knee replacements that I can't really do anymore. We have a medium-sized obligatory prayer, and then we have one, you know, oh God, I bear witness that thou hast created me to know thee and to worship thee. And we say this very short prayer, you know, if needed. So you can pick from these 3 prayers, and it keeps us aligned with, you know, when you're thinking about how do you know God? You have to imitate the teachings through your service.
You know what I'm saying here, that I'm learning so much. You know, I have been a part of the interfaith for 50 years, you know, in different groups, you know, and I made so many friends, you know, just like you guys, you know, and, you know, and this is amazing, you know, that it's not, as I mentioned, being together like this as a worship. Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
I mean, thank you so much for bringing us together.
One of the things
You
you're
get
talking about.
you get the credit for it, you know.
No.
Yeah.
We've been talking
No,
about
you
this.
have been doing the hard work, you know. Yeah.
You were talking about the notion of like, okay, we're always striving toward, like we haven't
Right.
gotten there yet,
Right.
and this is one of the reasons why, you know, in my head, and actually, and what I say to people sometimes is, I don't like calling myself a Christian. because it tends to have the sound like you've arrived somewhere, like I've succeeded in becoming a Christian. Well, no, I'm a follower. I'm a striver in some sense of towards Jesus Christ. I mean, I have this incarnation of what a divine human being might look like in the world. And it is so attractive to me that I feel compelled to follow.
Yeah.
You know, just like the fishermen that Jesus called by the lakeshore,
Because that's
just
the-
picked
that's
up
the-
and followed him because
That's
there was
the right thing to
something
do, you know. That is
compelling.
the right thing to do. It will come inside you, you know, and will take you to that direction, you know, if you want to do it. If you have the mind to do the right thing, you will get it there. You will get there, you know.
It's also the heart. It's also the heart.
I think so, and I think that the intent behind it and the idea of never really attaining.
Right.
And yet, we are not supposed to, Judaism teaches, we're not supposed to try and be like Moses. And the similar way that I'm sure it's the idea of don't be Jesus, but follow the teachings, follow the example of what it is. And because ultimately, when our days come to an end, and we are judged, we're not going to be judged against somebody else. We're going to be judged in the idea of were we the best version of ourselves we could be. And then that goes back to the individual obligations to ourselves to try to do whatever we can. And I think this is where I think that massive aspect of similarity between religions is that it becomes a guide for us of how to live. And whether we choose to follow it or not is up to us. And ultimately, if other people choose not to follow it, it's up to them because we're only able to control our own actions. As a faith leader in the Episcopal Church, I'm sure it's frustrating for you when you see people going astray, but it becomes their choice and only you can kind of help provide them the opportunity to come back and to use tradition as a way to share that. I'm assuming the similar way in Islam as well.
Yeah, exactly. We are not here to convert you guys, you know, or you're not here to convert me.
Right.
But we have so much in common that we love each other, you know. You know, this is the way. That's what Moses taught. That's what Jesus taught. That was Muhammad taught. Actually, Quran, all over says, you know, follow the teaching of Moses and follow the teaching of Jesus, you know. You know, Jesus has been mentioned, I think there are 30 chapters of, he has been mentioned in 29 chapters, you know. Just Jesus and Moses, you know, all over.
Yeah, Jesus wasn't most mentioned in our Bible.
Yeah, exactly. You know, see?
Somebody was named Jesus.
Yes. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a common name.
yes, of course.
You know, the
He was a
beauty,
Jew.
Yes.
the beauty of us actually coming together and doing this show and being a part of this show. And I think I also wanted to mention that we are also a part of, I don't know what better group to bring together, but the Interfaith Council here of Monrovia, you know, and just how important it is for our viewers out there that's watching this to see how we are getting along. Too bad we didn't have the cameras going on before, you know, with the laughter and all this stuff that we were doing, you know. But even with them not seeing that, they could see it here as we're sitting here at this table, how we are interacting with each other.
Yes, very nice.
And that is, for me, the beauty of it, that especially what is happening right now, that they can see that these different faith traditions and how we are interacting. And
And it
also
is-
how important it is for us to be seen out in public.
It's so important at this time when there's so many problems in the world. And there's so many problems in the United States, you know, either politics or inflation or whatever you call them. People are not at ease. And so this is something like this. We should all, you know, go around and chat with our neighbors, you know, say hello to them, you know. So I guess the best charity in Islam is to give a smile.
It's also the
to
cheapest.
give
and
a
easiest.
smile.
Yes.
Well, I'm telling you, thank you.
Humbug.
Yeah, see, I told you, I'm Jewish too,
Well, we've been talking a lot about what we have in common and everything, but also at the same time, I think it's important that for us to kind of clear up some of the misconceptions or misunderstandings that what people have about our faith traditions. So I would like for you to share some of the misconceptions that you wish that people, more people knew and understood about your faith tradition.
Well, you know what? About Islam, you know that we
Yeah.
have a sword, we kill everybody,
Yeah, yeah.
And that is because of the screen,
Yeah.
People who control the screen, they have created this. And then all kind of, because of the injustice in several countries, people rose up against that injustice. And that what started problem, and then the TV picked up on that. So this is, I believe in peace. I don't want to kill anybody. No. So that's the thing. As you mentioned, Islam means peace, and it has been like this. But the problem in Middle East and things like this, it has been historically like that, So
Well, religion has always been used by secular powers. Throughout the history of humanity, it has been used and abused in the service of empire. Whatever empire it might have been. Constantine, in the 4th century was like going, you know what, this group of Christians are getting pretty popular. Maybe we should kind of harness some of that energy and center our power and all. And then, but prior to that, there wasn't a unified Christianity. There were multiple Christianities, many different expressions. It's why we couldn't get it all put down into one gospel. In the Christian, we have 4 gospels, and they're full of contradictions because they were written at different moments to different communities with different agendas, etc. And they were all trying to get still at a specific
Amazing.
truth about who Jesus was calling us to be in the world. But, whenever people who want to amass power can always find a way to sort of conquer and divide, or divide and conquer. It's like, and so the more we can be put at odds with each other, whether within a tradition or whether between traditions, the people who don't want accountability, the people who don't want
to be held responsible. Exactly.
They see an opportunity and they exploit it.
And that goes back to the othering in society that we're currently seeing today.
Yes.
I think part of it also is that unfortunately those that had power, that were in many ways the bad apple, has led people to understand that is the only truth. Right. That is the only way that people are. I'm sitting here thinking you and I sitting together in some places would be abhorrent to people.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
And yet the
Yeah.
shared tradition, shared understanding, the fact that you started our conversation with salam alechem,
Yeah.
and the response is shalom alechem as well. It says the
Same.
similarities are beyond,
Right.
like there's so many that are the
Amazing.
same. One misconception I want to make sure that people understand is that Judaism considers, we don't call the Bible the Old Testament, New Testament.
Right.
Just a prime example. I refer to it as the Hebrew Bible. It ends when it ends. There's no new truth. Judaism says this is our truth. This is where we're taking it. When Jesus came along as a follower of Judaism, said I have a different perspective. There's a different voice within me that's saying that there's a different path forward that people followed. That became a different truth for those followers. And yet so much of the tradition came out of Jewish tradition,
Right.
that I think that there is a misunderstanding as to that Jews hate Jesus or Jews hate Muslims and Islam and everything else. And the fact is no, there's none of that, because in fact in so many of our faiths, as you point out, peace, justice, commonality, the idea of living
Yes.
living a life that you're supposed to be because of our partnership with God
Yeah.
gets unfortunately misplaced, that understanding that we actually can be learning from one another, building relationships, because in many ways it also deepens our own understanding of our faith
Absolutely.
in a way that we can't always get by being together with only the same group of people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That never ever really made sense to me, is to stay within.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I guess because the way my parents were, we were always out. You know, so we were always out.
And that's a
with
real
others.
gift, you know, to grow up in a family that is outward looking. You know, my dad talks about when he was growing up on a farm in Nebraska, and he said the most exciting day of the week was Fridays because that's when Life magazine arrived.
Oh, interesting.
And he got to see the
Life.
photography of life out in the world, and eventually became an airline pilot. So like we travel like you wouldn't believe as a family. We're always going somewhere, exploring something new, and it's something that was really inculcated in myself and my siblings about, okay, this is how you learn. This is, and also having grown up in the suburbs of New York, I was so influenced by the diversity of the community within which I lived. I couldn't be the Christian I am today had I not gone to a bar mitzvahs as a teenager, you know, because all of my friends, you know, were having bar mitzvahs. I had my confirmation. It was a little boring. Grandma sent me a card. Mom asked me what I wanted for dinner. Not quite the same as a great bar mitzvah, but nevertheless, you know.
And yet the services are very much the same.
Yeah.
And the meaning behind it, the idea of a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah for girls is the idea of taking on responsibility, taking on the role as seen as an adult of your faith.
Right.
In a similar way, confirmation is the idea of confirming your faith
Right.
in
Confirming
the
the
path.
promises that were made on your behalf
Right.
in your baptism.
Right.
But you're now saying, I'm an adult. I'm of that age where I'm starting to have the intellectual capability of making some choices, and therefore, you know, and I mean, which is why I always laugh and like, why are we giving this to 13-year-olds to do? This is like, this isn't the 16th century when you only lived to age 40 if you were lucky. You know, it's like, no, I mean, there are a few people who at age 13 might start to have some of the capabilities to start making those kinds of promises on their own behalf, but
But then it goes back to the community kind of guiding them through that and saying, oh, remember, you've taken this on.
Right.
Here's what it means, and let me model for you as you get forward.
yeah, so it doesn't stop
Correct.
with the ritual.
Right.
Yeah.
That is sort of like, okay, we could maybe say that's sort of like the starting starting gun being shot in your race to for spiritual development as an adult.
Yeah.
You know, next Sunday I'm going to come to your church and I'm going to stand up there. You're going to introduce me. This is the person with no religion, and he's going to do the sermon today.
I would love you to come and do a sermon sometime.
Okay, definitely. I have done it in Pasadena Church, the big church, you
Oh
know.
yeah, all saints.
Lots
At
of
the
big
time of
saints.
at the time of I think that was Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Day. So because Thanksgiving is shukr, being thankful to God, and so that is a lot of emphasis, being thankful to God for it. In fact, personal thing. Every morning when I get up, I say thank you God for giving me a new life. It's another day. Thank you God for giving me my good children and good wife and a good house, and you are giving me everything that I need. I only depend on you, so take care of me, This is every morning, that's what I do, So
Now, did I fit everyone? Because we are.
Well, I think one of the misconceptions,
Coming back.
we're the newest religion in the space, that we have order and structure in our faith, and that there is a very unique government system within the Baha'i faith. If you haven't, I won't go into it here, but I invite you to explore it because it's fascinating, and it's very revolutionary in the sense that it's a government that can count the votes of all the Baha'is in the world, and we are able to have our administration voted in by all of its people in a certain way.
By
But
the
I
way,
think-
the Baha'i religion has a lot of influence, Islamic influence in the Baha'i
well, we,
religion.
we're the
absolutely.
we believe we're the
Because I have friends,
Yeah.
I have an Iranian friend, who was, you know what's happening in
Yes,
Iran.
yes.
Do you
Yes.
want
We
to
don't want
guess
to
what
talk
my,
about-
my makeup is?
Yeah,
And
I know.
What?
I
Tell
can
me.
tell you.
Tell me,
Michael,
what do you think I am?
You are coming from Iran,
Tell me more. I'll tell you after you tell me.
Iran, what do you want me to more?
What else am I? Am I more? Am I just Persian?
Well, I know I can tell
You
that
can
you
tell.
are.
My mother is Persian, and my father was black, Jamaican, and Jamaican.
Amazing.
From North Carolina. My grandmother was from Jamaican. His
Amazing.
father was from North Carolina. But my other half is completely Persian.
Yeah.
Yes, and I used to have black hair, but when you get old, women go blonde, as do some men. But I'm just saying, so
Amazing.
it's a little easier to keep up.
Yeah.
But
Well, as you
what's
grow
so
older,
interesting? But
Are
I've
you gonna
never,
say
I have never not
Men go bald, right?
You know,
that too.
when you grow older, you become more beautiful, more beautiful,
Yeah.
more beautiful.
Well, I feel so old now. But I just say it's such a unique thing because, my grandmother was Episcopal, St. Mark's in Altadena.
Oh, wow.
It's no longer
I
burnt
know.
down. My heart
Well,
is broken.
my best friend from college, she was the rector there at St. Mark's.
Oh,
Yeah.
the woman that's there now. The
Yeah,
one that-
Carrie Patterson.
Oh, so they've moved over to the International High School. Do you know that they have a new campus?
No, that's,
no,
that's the
they're-
school.
that's the school.
But we should
Uh,
probably.
Oh, but
we
anyway.
should, we should
Yes,
probably.
We're
Yeah,
wrap
but
it up.
okay, we can do this
We're
off
wrapping.
camera.
But anyway, yes. Sorry, camera.
Yeah.
But yes.
Cut.
No, but what I was saying, I just wanted to close with the Episcopal.
Pass it
The
on.
Episcopal Church was a big part of my
yeah.
growing up through my grandmother, and it's in the end, love is love is love. It's, that's what it is. It's all the same. That's what it boils down to.
Yes. So I actually at this we have literally come to the end, and I am almost speechless. I am overjoyed. I am excited that this has finally happened, and the air, the energy in this space is unbelievable.
Yes.
And it has continued on for me, since last week. So this is a nice, I don't want to say ending because there's a couple other things, but it's just been nice that this has continued on because you could feel the spirit here. And I thank all of you for that. I really appreciate it. And, ooh,
Is this a continued conversation? Is this something you're going to continue, or is this a?
well, actually, it is, I believe that it is a start for the Interfaith Council to have their own show. This show is a part of a Baha'i conversation. And we have actually, the Interfaith Council, we've been talking about having our own show. So this is would be a spin-off or however you call that.
Oh, I'm expert in spin-offs.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was on Port Charles after spin-offs.
Yes.
Just like with my other show, but I really want to wrap up and saying this is I want to thank all of you for, you guys actually were absolutely amazing in the wisdom that you shared here. And I really hope that our viewers out there were really able to see see and feel the spirit that was happening in this space. And I invite you to go out to meet a new friend, like Iqbal said. Find someone of a different faith, other than yours, and find out about them, befriend them, and go to a different church or go to a different mosque or temple. Just do that, because the fact that we need each other. We need each other because,
Amazing.
as you saw, with our different faith traditions, the commonality that we had
that we have. We have that love. We have justice. We have service. We have compassion. We have all of that. And you have that too. You might not want to say it out loud or whatever, but you do too. And I invite you to befriend someone. Thank you so much for joining us on the Baha'i Conversation. See you next time.